She vanished hours before saying, "I do." 12 years later, workers found her wedding dress and her bones hidden beneath her fiance's floorboards. What really happened to Emily Carter? Emily Carter was the kind of woman everyone in Maplewood admired. She worked as a preschool teacher and spent her weekends volunteering at the local animal shelter. With her soft brown hair and gentle personality, she had a reputation as someone who made people feel at ease. So when the news broke that Emily was engaged to Daniel Brooks, many in the small town felt it was a perfect match. Daniel, a tall, handsome man who ran his family's construction business, was seen as a successful and reliable figure. Together, they looked like the ideal couple destined for a happy life. June 14, 2013, was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives. Friends and family from nearby towns filled the Willow Creek Chapel early that morning. Guests sat patiently on wooden benches, admiring the flower arrangements and the soft sound of the piano. Everyone waited for Emily's grand entrance. The morning passed quietly, and as the clock approached noon, concern began to ripple through the crowd. Emily was nowhere to be seen. At first, people assumed there had been a delay with her hair or makeup. After all, it was her wedding day. Some joked softly about typical bride delays. But when an hour passed with no updates, whispers grew louder. Daniel, standing near the altar in his tailored suit, looked increasingly anxious, checking his phone repeatedly. Emily's mother, Patricia, stepped outside to call her daughter, but there was no answer. Her calls went straight to voicemail. She tried calling Emily's maid of honor, Lily, but Lily hadn't heard from her either. Lily revealed that Emily had left her apartment early that morning, dressed casually, saying she'd return after picking up something, but she never came back. Panic replaced confusion. Soon, Daniel and several family members rushed to Emily's apartment. They knocked, then banged on the door, before forcing their way inside. What they found was chilling in its ordinariness. Emily's purse was still there, her phone charger plugged into the wall. The breakfast dishes sat in the sink. Her wedding dress, however, was missing. Her car, a small blue sedan, was parked right outside. The keys were not inside the apartment. Her phone was not there either. It was as if she had simply walked out and disappeared. Daniel insisted she wouldn't run away. Patricia broke down in tears, begging anyone to find her daughter. Calls were made to the police, who initially treated the situation as a missing person case without immediate signs of foul play. Officers canvassed the area, knocking on neighbors' doors, checking traffic cameras, and searching nearby roads. Nothing. By nightfall, news of the missing bride spread across the state. Reporters arrived in Maplewood. People volunteered in search teams, combing through local forests, rivers, and abandoned structures. Flyers with Emily's smiling face were taped to every telephone pole. Days passed, then weeks. Each new morning brought the same heartbreak. No news. Police looked into every possible explanation. Had she run away? Had she staged her own disappearance? But Emily's life gave no hints of dissatisfaction. She'd been excited about the wedding, talking about honeymoon plans, even writing thank you notes in advance for guests. Then, darker theories took hold. Detectives began questioning Daniel more aggressively. They searched his construction sites, interviewed his workers, and followed up on any rumors. But no evidence pointed to him or anyone else. His alibi for the morning of the disappearance was vague but believable. He claimed he'd been preparing at home, ironing his shirt, making last-minute calls to vendors. Still, people in Maplewood wondered. Whispers filled the coffee shops and grocery stores. Some believed Daniel knew more than he said. Others insisted Emily had left on her own. But as time went on, suspicion turned into silence. People stopped talking, but they never forgot. A year later, Emily's parents held a memorial service without a body. They left her bedroom untouched, still hoping she'd walk through the door one day. Daniel, meanwhile, withdrew from public life, selling his company and isolating himself inside his childhood farmhouse on the outskirts of town. Years turned into a decade. Search efforts ended. Police declared the case cold. Emily Carter's name remained on missing person lists, her photograph aging as her loved ones grew older without her. What no one knew was that Emily had never left Maplewood. She had never even left the farmhouse, while her parents mourned and Daniel played the part of the grieving fiancé. Emily's body remained hidden just a few feet beneath the floorboards of a house people passed by every day. A house no one thought to search. Not until 12 years later, the day she vanished, the town changed forever. The wedding that never happened became a ghost story, and Emily Carter became a memory that haunted everyone who once called her a friend. Asterisk. In the summer of 2025, 12 long years after Emily Carter's mysterious disappearance, the quiet life of Maplewood was disrupted once again. Daniel Brooks, now 41 years old, decided to sell his family farmhouse. Over the years, the house had grown old and worn. Paint chipped from the walls, floorboards creaked, and the once thriving garden lay overgrown. Neighbors rarely saw Daniel. He had become a shadow in the town, keeping to himself, avoiding conversations, and letting time pass him by. To some, he looked like a man consumed by grief. To others, he looked like a man hiding something. After selling the farmhouse to a couple planning to renovate and flip the property, Daniel left Maplewood without saying goodbye. His departure stirred up old rumors, but people soon moved on. For most, Emily Carter's disappearance had faded into history, an unsolved mystery buried alongside other small-town tragedies. But that was about to change. The new owners wasted no time starting renovations. Contractors were hired to modernize the old house. Their focus was the living room, a space with warped floorboards that felt unstable underfoot. One morning, as workers began tearing up the floor to replace the aging wood, their tools struck something unexpected beneath the surface. At first, they believed it was debris from a previous renovation. But as they cleared away layers of dirt and dust, their hammers hit solid, unfamiliar shapes. It wasn't wood. It wasn't stone. It was bone. Panic spread among the workers. Police were called immediately. Forensic teams arrived and quickly secured the area. What they uncovered sent shockwaves across the entire town. Beneath the living room floor, wrapped in fragments of white lace and plastic sheeting, lay a human skeleton. Time had reduced the flesh to bone, but forensic experts confirmed it belonged to a woman, small in frame. Beside the remains were pieces of fabric that once formed part of a dress, possibly a wedding dress. Rumors traveled faster than the police could control. By nightfall, everyone in Maplewood had heard the news. The town's greatest mystery had cracked open. DNA tests were rushed. Within days, the police held a press conference confirming what many feared. The body beneath the floorboards belonged to Emily Carter. The missing bride had been in Daniel Brooks' farmhouse all along. The revelation stunned everyone. For 12 years, Daniel had lived just feet above the remains of his bride-to-be. Emily's parents, now elderly, were devastated. They had believed Emily was alive somewhere, that one day she'd come home. The truth was darker than any of them had ever imagined. Detectives who worked the original case revisited every file, every interview, every theory. They found a chilling oversight. Back in 2013, police never searched the farmhouse thoroughly. At the time, Daniel had been cooperative, allowing access to his vehicles and workplace, but his home had been considered low priority, as no signs pointed toward it. Daniel's social status and outward grief had shielded him from suspicion. Now, that mistake became impossible to ignore. Investigators returned to the farmhouse, now a crime scene, and examined every inch. Experts determined that Emily had been placed beneath the floorboards shortly after her death. Her body had been hidden with care, as if someone had taken time to cover all traces. The bones showed signs of blunt force trauma to the skull. There were no defensive wounds, suggesting she had been taken by surprise. Wrapped around her were fragments of white lace, likely from her missing wedding dress. Daniel Brooks was immediately located and arrested without incident. He offered no resistance and remained eerily calm when police told him why he was being detained. The town of Maplewood watched with collective disbelief. What followed were endless questions. Had Daniel killed Emily on the morning of their wedding? Had he carried her body to the farmhouse and concealed it while everyone searched for her? Was he capable of living atop her grave for 12 years without guilt betraying him? Police interrogations began, but Daniel remained cold and detached. He denied any involvement. He claimed he had no idea Emily's body was hidden in his house. According to him, someone else must have placed her there, perhaps framing him. Yet police found no evidence of anyone else entering the farmhouse during those years. Daniel lived alone, rarely had visitors, and maintained strict privacy. His finances showed no signs of blackmail or threats, no enemies, no break-ins, no explanation. Detectives believe Daniel had lied for over a decade, carefully maintaining the image of a broken man mourning a lost bride while keeping her body hidden beneath his feet, but proving that in court would be harder than they expected. Investigators revisited Emily's last days before her disappearance. Interviews with her closest friends revealed cracks in the perfect love story. Emily had expressed doubts about marrying Daniel. She had discovered that he was deep in debt, owing large sums to creditors. Friends said she felt controlled and isolated. She had even considered calling off the wedding, but was too afraid of the fallout. Police now theorized that Emily confronted Daniel on the morning of their wedding, possibly ending the relationship. That confrontation, they believed, turned violent. Daniel, in a fit of rage, may have struck Emily, killing her instantly. With little time before the wedding ceremony, he could have transported her body back to the farmhouse, wrapped her in plastic and lace, and buried her beneath the living room floorboards. He would have returned to the chapel hours later, pretending to be the confused, heartbroken groom. This theory, however, had holes. No physical evidence directly tied Daniel to the crime. There were no fingerprints, no witnesses, and no surveillance cameras. 12 years had erased forensic traces. Daniel's silence only deepened the mystery. Maplewood was left to face a horrifying truth. The bride who vanished had never left. She had been there all along, hidden in plain sight, buried inside a house everyone trusted, watched over by the man everyone believed was innocent. The reopening of Emily Carter's case turned Maplewood upside down. As investigators pieced together the forgotten fragments of her life, the story of a perfect bride unraveled. Behind her radiant smile and seemingly happy engagement, there were cracks no one had noticed, or perhaps no one wanted to see. Detectives began by revisiting Emily's private world. In the months leading up to her disappearance, she had grown distant from many of her closest friends. Lily Matthews, her childhood best friend and maid of honor, revealed painful details during her interview. Emily had confided that she wasn't sure she wanted to marry Daniel. She loved him once, but something had changed. She felt trapped, like every decision was being made for her. Daniel controlled their finances, their social life, even the decor of their future home. He dismissed her opinions, labeling them as impractical or naive. Emily had reportedly discovered Daniel was in serious debt, far worse than he had admitted. His construction business was failing. He had taken out multiple loans, and creditors were closing in. Emily, who prided herself on living simply and within her means, was horrified when she learned he had secretly used her name to secure part of a loan. She was planning to confront him after the wedding, possibly seek legal help. But Daniel never gave her the chance. Despite her fear, Emily had hesitated to call off the wedding. Her parents were proud of the upcoming union. Daniel's Family was respected in the community. She feared embarrassment, judgment, and isolation. According to Lily, Emily told her that if she didn't marry Daniel, she might have to leave Maplewood forever. The night before her disappearance, Emily had written an unsent email to her mother. Investigators retrieved it from an old backup. In it, she apologized for keeping secrets and expressed doubt about the marriage. She said she felt suffocated, but loved her family too, much to disappoint them. That email was never sent. On the morning of her wedding day, Emily was supposed to get ready at Lily's apartment, but she didn't show up. Instead, security footage showed her leaving her own apartment building just after 7 a.m., alone, wearing casual clothes. She was never seen alive again. Investigators believed Emily went to confront Daniel early that morning at the farmhouse. No cameras covered that isolated road. Theory suggested that she intended to end the engagement before the ceremony. She may have believed that in the privacy of his home, away from public eyes, Daniel would listen. Instead, something far darker occurred. Inside the farmhouse, forensic teams found subtle but chilling clues. Beneath the floorboards where her body was hidden, small flecks of dried blood were recovered in the surrounding wood, missed during the original concealment. Though degraded over time, tests confirmed it was Emily's blood. Further, the fragments of her wedding dress found with her body told a silent story. Investigators determined the lace had been torn, not cut, suggesting force. Some of it was tangled around her bones, indicating she may have been wearing the dress, or parts of it, at the time of death. But her friend Lily was certain Emily had left home wearing casual clothing. This raised new questions that police theorized. That Daniel may have forced Emily into the wedding dress after killing her, or at least wrapped her body in it deliberately. Perhaps it was a twisted gesture. Perhaps symbolic. Perhaps a final control over the woman who had defied him. Autopsy results, limited due to decomposition, showed blunt force trauma to Emily's skull, consistent with a single heavy strike from behind. No defensive wounds were found, meaning she likely never saw the attack coming. Investigators believe that Daniel, after killing her, used his knowledge of construction to hide her body expertly. He removed sections of the floor in his living room, concealed her remains, and replaced the boards with enough precision that no one suspected anything during casual visits. He then joined the search parties, spoke to the media, and played the role of a heartbroken fiancé, living in that house for 12 years. Above Emily's body was either an act of pure coldness or proof of Daniel's madness. Some believed he stayed close to his hidden crime as a way of maintaining control, or perhaps he simply couldn't leave behind the one secret he managed to keep. But despite the evidence, there were complications. There were no fingerprints or clear forensic proof linking Daniel directly to the act of concealment. His silence during interrogations frustrated detectives, as he maintained that he knew nothing of Emily's body beneath his house. His lawyers argued that someone else could have placed the body there, framing him, possibly after her disappearance. Detectives found no evidence of any enemies or suspicious visitors who might have had motive or opportunity to do this. Still, without a confession or irrefutable forensic proof, the case against Daniel was circumstantial. Emily's story, once seen as a simple missing persons case, now revealed the hidden life of a woman trapped by fear, love, and obligation. A woman who wanted freedom, but ran out of time. Her final hours were silent. No witnesses. No cries for help. Emily Carter had walked into that farmhouse alone, and whatever happened inside sealed her fate forever. In the quiet rooms of her childhood home, her parents clung to the knowledge that their daughter had never run away, had never chosen to abandon them. But this knowledge came with its own curse, the realization that she had died terrified and alone, mere miles from where they searched for her all those years. Now, after 12 years of darkness, the truth had surfaced from beneath the floorboards, but justice remained just out of reach. The hidden life of Emily Carter was no longer hidden. yet the person responsible for ending it might still walk free. Asterisk. Daniel Brooks' trial became the most talked about event in Maplewood's history. People who had once admired him now watched with suspicion and anger as he sat silently in the courtroom, dressed in a dark suit, avoiding eye contact with everyone. His expression remained blank as the prosecution laid out its case, telling the story of a bride who vanished and was found hidden under his home. Prosecutors painted Daniel as a manipulative man who murdered his fiancée in a fit of rage, then lived above her body for 12 years while pretending to grieve. They described how Emily had discovered his financial troubles and his controlling behavior. They argued that she went to his farmhouse that morning not to get ready for the wedding, but to end their relationship. They believed Daniel reacted violently, killing her and hiding her body with cold precision. He had construction knowledge. He knew how to remove floorboards, how to seal a space without leaving visible traces. For 12 years, he carried out the perfect lie. The defense told a different story. Daniel's lawyers argued that no one saw Emily arrive at the farmhouse that morning. There were no security cameras or witnesses. The prosecution couldn't prove when she died or even exactly where. According to them, anyone could have hidden her body there. The house was large, old, and isolated. Over the years, workers, friends, or strangers could have gained access. The missing wedding dress fragments were dismissed as evidence too damaged. To offer any clear answers, the defense focused on the lack of direct proof. No murder weapon was ever found. No fingerprints connected Daniel to the crime scene. No bloodstains elsewhere in the house. No history of violence between him and Emily. They said Daniel was being blamed because he was the only person left to blame. The trial lasted for weeks. Emily's parents sat quietly in the front row, hoping for justice, hoping that the man who stole their daughter's life would finally pay. The town watched each day, divided between those who believed Daniel was guilty and those who feared the evidence wasn't strong enough to convict. The jury deliberated for 3 full days. When they returned to the courtroom, holding the verdict in their hands, the air felt heavy. People held their breath as the foreman read the words, "Not guilty." Shock spread through the courtroom. Daniel Brooks was acquitted of all charges. In the eyes of the law, he was a free man. Outside the courthouse, chaos erupted. Reporters swarmed. Protesters shouted. Emily's parents collapsed in tears. Many believed that a murderer had just walked free, thanks to missing evidence and a well-paid defense team. Others whispered that perhaps he truly was innocent, a man whose life had been destroyed by a coincidence too strange to believe. Daniel left the courthouse in silence. He refused interviews. He ignored reporters. He disappeared from Maplewood, leaving behind the house, the town, and the people who once considered him one of their own. But for Maplewood, the nightmare wasn't over. People questioned everything they thought they knew about justice. A woman's body had been found buried beneath the floor of her fiancé's house, yet no one would be punished for her death. Whispers filled cafes, barbershops, and grocery stores. Some said Daniel had gotten away with murder. Others said he was a victim of an elaborate frame. Conspiracy theories emerged. Perhaps a jealous ex-boyfriend, a family member, or even someone from Daniel's past had killed Emily and hidden the body to destroy him. But none of those theories answered the hardest question: why would anyone else hide Emily's body in Daniel's house? Law enforcement didn't give up. Even after the trial, detectives kept the case open, hoping for a confession or new evidence. But months passed and nothing surfaced. Emily's parents, broken but determined, held one final vigil outside the ruins of Daniel's demolished farmhouse. The new owners had torn it down after the discovery of the body. In its place, a memorial stone was erected, reading simply, "Emily Carter, gone but not forgotten." Residents of Maplewood visited the site, placing flowers, candles, and letters. The town mourned, not just for Emily, but for the loss of trust. The idea that someone could hide a body in a home, live above it for years, and never face punishment left a scar on the town's soul. But the story didn't end there. 2 years after the trial, in the winter of 2027, Maplewood police received an anonymous letter. It was short and chilling. The writer confessed to Emily's murder, describing how they took care of the problem after Emily tried to ruin someone's life. The letter mentioned details never released to the public, including the pattern of lace on Emily's dress and the exact position of her body beneath the floorboards. The final line of the letter sent shivers through the detectives who read it. She should have said yes. Police believed the letter was authentic, but there were no fingerprints, no DNA, no clues to the sender's identity. The case shifted overnight. Was Daniel truly innocent? Had someone framed him after all? Or had he written the letter himself to confuse investigators? Detectives followed every possible lead. Old suspects were re-interviewed. Former employees of Daniel's construction business were questioned. Every friend, neighbor, and acquaintance of Emily's life was examined, but the trail led nowhere. The case remains unsolved. Daniel Brooks vanished from public life. No one knows where he lives or whether he carries guilt or satisfaction in his silence. Emily Carter's family continues to wait, hoping that someday someone will speak the full truth. The town of Maplewood carries the weight of her story, a bride who vanished on her wedding day, a body hidden beneath the floorboards, a trial that answered nothing, and a killer who may still be out there. A mystery that may never find its ending. The farmhouse where Emily Carter's body was found no longer exists. After the shocking discovery beneath the floorboards, the new owners demolished the entire structure, unable to live with the dark history buried within its walls. In its place now stands a small stone memorial. Simple and unadorned, it marks the spot where her remains were hidden for 12 silent years. People in Maplewood often visit, leaving fresh flowers, handwritten notes, and photographs of Emily, smiling in happier times. But even the memorial cannot bring closure. For many, the questions surrounding her death still haunt every quiet corner of the town. After Daniel Brooks' acquittal, life in Maplewood changed permanently. The people once trusted and admired now looked at each other with suspicion. Whispers filled the streets. Conversations ended when strangers walked past. Families who had known each other for generations suddenly found themselves divided by opinions about the case. Was Daniel guilty? Or was he an innocent man destroyed by circumstance? Daniel himself disappeared. Some say he left the country. Others claim he lives under a new identity, somewhere no one will ever find him. His bank accounts were closed. His social media wiped clean. His childhood home, reduced to rubble, became a symbol of the mystery that swallowed him whole. Emily Carter's parents remained in Maplewood. Her mother, Patricia, now frail and silent, visits the memorial almost daily. Her father, once a strong man, now spends his days staring out the window of their small house. Time has not healed their wounds. They still wonder how their daughter's life was stolen from her and why justice never came. Then, in the winter of 2027, The anonymous letter arrived. Typed on plain paper, postmarked from another state, it carried a confession, or what appeared to be one. The writer claimed to have killed Emily, describing in chilling detail how her body was wrapped in parts of her lace wedding dress and hidden beneath the farmhouse floorboards. They wrote about the moment they ended the problem, and the last sentence sent chills through the police who read it. She should have said yes. Investigators immediately believed the letter was genuine. The details matched evidence never made public. The precise description of the lace pattern, the way Emily's body was positioned, and the use of plastic sheeting were facts known only to police and the killer. But the letter provided no clues to the sender's identity. No fingerprints. No DNA, no handwriting. The envelope bore no return address. Detectives wondered, was this a real confession from the true killer, or a twisted game played by Daniel Brooks himself? Perhaps he wrote the letter to mislead investigators, to create reasonable doubt even after his trial. But if Daniel wrote it, why would he expose details that could incriminate him? The letter only deepened the mystery. In the months following the letter, investigators re-examined everything. They interviewed everyone who had once been connected to Emily, her co-workers, her friends, her relatives, even distant acquaintances. They explored every possible suspect, from Daniel's past business rivals, disgruntled employees, former partners. They searched public records for signs of anyone who could have held a secret grudge against Emily. They found nothing. Every lead ended in silence, and so Maplewood was left in limbo once again. Some locals believe that Emily's killer is still living among them, watching, waiting, confident that no one will ever uncover the truth. Others believe that Daniel Brooks killed Emily, that the letter was written by someone trying to cover for him, someone who owed him a favor or carried his secret. And then there are those who suspect Daniel was framed from the start, that Emily's death was part of a hidden story no one ever uncovered. The farmhouse is gone. The trial is over. But Emily's murder remains unsolved. Tourists sometimes visit the memorial now, drawn by the mystery. Crime podcasts and documentary channels label Maplewood as the town where the bride was buried under the floor. Journalists come and go, seeking answers that no one in Maplewood can give. For Emily's parents, each day is a quiet struggle. They refuse to leave the town where their daughter lived, laughed, and was ultimately lost. To them, the small memorial isn't just a grave, it's the last place their daughter was ever known to exist. And every day, they ask themselves the same question: why? Why was Emily killed? Why did she leave her apartment that morning? Did she really go to end the engagement? Did she confront Daniel? Or was someone else waiting for her that morning? Why didn't she run? Perhaps Emily never believed she was in danger. Perhaps her killer was someone she trusted. The police case files remain open but stagnant. Detectives review the anonymous letter again and again, hoping for something they missed, but every detail circles back to the same dead end. Now, 12 years after her disappearance and 2 years after the shocking discovery, Emily Carter's case stands as Maplewood's greatest mystery. The bride who vanished on her wedding day. The woman found beneath the floorboards. The killer who wrote a letter and then vanished into silence. People often say that secrets can't stay buried forever, but in Maplewood, one secret still does, and the question that haunts everyone is simple: who killed Emily Carter? In the years that followed, Emily Carter's name became more than just a memory in Maplewood. It became a warning. Her case was mentioned in crime podcasts, unsolved mystery forums, and late-night documentaries. People from outside the town came to see the simple memorial stone standing where the farmhouse once stood, but no one came seeking answers anymore. People came because the answers were lost. Emily's parents, now aging and frail, stopped believing justice would ever come. Each day, Patricia Carter visited the memorial stone, laying down fresh flowers, whispering apologies to a daughter who had trusted too easily and loved too deeply. George Carter rarely left their home, quietly staring at framed photos of the daughter he once believed would outlive him. Detective Sarah Monroe continued to work the case, though few knew it. She kept the anonymous letter locked in her desk drawer, rereading it every few weeks, searching for anything she had missed. The words haunted her. She should have said yes. Who wrote them? And why? After years of interviews, dead end leads, and sleepless nights, the detective came to a grim conclusion, perhaps. The answer was someone she would never find. Daniel Brooks was never seen again. Rumors suggested he changed his name and started over elsewhere. Others claimed he had ended his life, unable to live with guilt or shame. Some believed he was still in Maplewood, hiding in plain sight, watching as people debated his innocence or guilt. The police never found him, and no official statement about his whereabouts was ever released. Clara and James Wilkins, the couple who had unknowingly uncovered Emily's body, left Maplewood soon after the trial. They sold the land, unwilling to stay where such darkness had once lived beneath their feet. Over time, Emily's story stopped appearing in newspapers. New tragedies filled the headlines. Yet in Maplewood, the memory of the bride who vanished never faded completely. People continued to visit the memorial stone. Candles were still lit, flowers still wilted under the harsh summer sun. But beneath the quiet rituals, a question lingered, a question that no one could answer. Who killed Emily Carter? Was her killer a man everyone once trusted? Or was the real killer someone the town never suspected? Someone who walked among them, smiled at their children, and carried the weight of a secret that no one else knew? The case of the missing bride turned buried bride remains Maplewood's darkest mystery. A silent question carved into stone, left to be asked over and over in the minds of those who remember. In the end, Emily Carter never got her wedding day. And Maplewood never got the truth.